Hey, yo, what's good? Check it out. This your boy Elder Sensei, one half of the legendary Artifacts. You are right now in tune to my man Tim Einenkel at the library on rapstation.com. Let's get it popping, y'all. Artifacts. Peace, Elder Sensei. I'm out.
What's up, y'all? This is Tim Einenkel with The Library. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. That's at The Library with Tim. That's at The Library with Tim. Also, check me out on rapstation.com for my full interviews and also updates from all the And You Don't Stop crew.
I wish you were real instead of make believe.
Yeah, where everything's fair, people live without care, unless it's coupled with health. We will all share the wealth, where our planet won't melt. Don't like the hand you put dealt. It's no
This week on The Library is part one of my interview with hip-hop artist Substantial on his album, Home is Where the Art Is. So I know you probably get asked this a lot, but I kind of want our audience to have a better understanding of who you are.
Okay.
So who is Substantial?
Substantial is a father, husband, MC, visual artist, educator. You know what I mean? Just basically just a person about peace, man, and just trying to push my people and my craft as far as possible. You know.
True. And your latest album, which was released in September 2012, Home is Where the Art Is.
Right.
Kind of wanted, if you could talk, like, what's the concept behind the album and why the title?
Yeah. So Home is Where the Art Is. The concept behind it, basically, while I was living in Baltimore, man, I was like really inspired by a lot of my experiences there. Also inspired by the art, like, of the city. Like, you know, if you've ever been to Baltimore, they have these huge murals, like, all around the city, man, and it's beautiful. And so it's just constantly, like, you know, in the backdrop as you're living your day-to-day. So it's like, you know, when you think of the saying, art imitates life, you know, it's like that comes to mind heavily when I'm riding around. So it's like I'm seeing these positive images or whatever in these places where the community is kind of, you know, it's kind of the polar opposite of that. But it's like somebody still took the time to put something beautiful there to hopefully inspire somebody. So, you know, I don't know how it influenced other people, but basically, you know, this project is kind of what those images did for me and what my experiences there, all, you know, basically what it came out as, you know.
True. Well, I mean, was it some sort of, I guess I was wondering, was it also some sort of reaction to, I guess, the perceived notion of what Baltimore is like, or, you know, like, you talk to people and they're like, I wouldn't, you know, I would only go in these 2 blocks or whatnot, you know?
Right, yeah, it definitely has a reputation, man. I just remember, like, traveling, whether, like, I'm in Chicago or whether I was, like, in Europe somewhere, and people were like, hey, where you from, bro? You know, and I'm like, you know, I'm from Maryland. I currently live in Baltimore. And, like, and people, man, just like, oh, my God, how's that? You know, like, because most people knew was, you know, The Wire. That was pretty much it.
Right.
And, you know, and then, like, some people I talked to had actually lived there for a while, and so, you know, they might have had some experiences there. But for me, growing up in Maryland, in PG County to be specific, you know, Baltimore, when I was growing up, it had its rough parts or whatever, but for me it was kind of like a getaway. Because when I stayed in PG wasn't exactly sweet either. And you know, for me it was a getaway because I get to see the other side of the family, man, and it was just a different experience. So, you know, I still got a lot of love for Baltimore, man. It's a great place, you know.
Right. A lot of the artists on the on Home is Where the Art Is are from the DC, you know, VA, Maryland area.
Right.
So I'm wondering, obviously it's, you know, the album is kind of a tribute to that area, but, you know, with the age of the internet and the turnaround time, you know, you talk to artists and they're like, I emailed a beat to so and so who lives in California, and he emailed me back another beat. You know,
right.
I guess if you could elaborate more, why continue to stay local with the artist? Like, why not? I don't know, reach across the pond or something like that.
Well, I mean, you know, I definitely, like, I'm, you know, as a hip hop, as someone who loves hip hop, you know, you're obviously influenced by, you know, not just your environment, but the global hip hop community. But but the people who really kind of pushed me day to day to push my craft to the next level were people who were home with me. You know what I mean? Like, I used to tell people all the time when I first moved to Brooklyn or whatever back in the day that, like, man, like, as dope as some of these artists around me in New York were, I was like, man, y'all really got to hear my dudes back home, man. It's nice. Like, because people just really didn't know how much talent was in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area. They're starting to get an idea now. But back in the day, they had no clue, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so whenever I do my projects, man, however I could showcase that, I definitely try to do it. But at the same time, I've worked with artists all around the world. My first album was completely produced by Japanese producers. My second album had production from people from like Finland and other parts of the country here. And even this album has 2 tracks from M Phases, which is, he's arguably one of the biggest hip hop producers out of Australia.
Right.
So I'm still with the international community too, man, building with them and trying to put out dope music with them. But, I'm always going to remain loyal to my hometown, man, and try to promote the art here as much as possible,
I actually want to talk about your I guess your inspiration process to your creative process. Is it easier for you to, not just this album, but any album, is it easier, or any song, is it easier for you to kind of have a concept, write the lyrics, and then talk to the producer about the beat, or is it easier to have the beat first? What works for you? I mean, or I imagine it's probably different on every track, huh?
When I was younger, when I first started writing, it was easier for me to just kind of come up with the idea beforehand. Where now, it's more about the music or whatever. Like, I try to be like, work as much as like a musician as possible. And basically what I do is I vibe out. I find some music or whatever that I really like, and I spend as much time just listening to it, trying to approach it as an actual musician, as opposed to like, I'm gonna write these dope lyrics. I'm gonna write this crazy rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Punchline, et cetera, et cetera. It's really like, how can I do something that I feel really illustrates, via words, really illustrates what I hear in this music. And then, like, how can I use my voice like an instrument to complement what's happening so that way I make a great song as opposed to just a dope rhyme. So that's really my approach nowadays. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I was way more aggressive with it, like, like chip on my shoulder, hands up to prove. I was trying to be the best battle rapper alive. Where now it's like I'm really just trying to be a great musician, man, and make timeless music, whether I'm rhyming or not,
Cool. I want to go back to Home is Where the Art Is. What is your, I guess, 2 questions. What's the most personal song on the album for you? And then it could be the same thing, but what's your favorite song on the album?
The most personal song for me would be Umoja.
I ain't even gotta know you to show you love, cause nowadays complete strangers could be your blood. So I treat everybody like a cuz on GP until your attitude switch from love to bleak me. Everybody in their
basically, it's because the first verse is me just building, like, talking about my relationship with my wife, and the importance that's played, and like everything I do. And then the second verse talks about my family, and our relationship and everything. And then the third and final verse talks about, like, basically, like, my work in the community and, like, just trying to give back and build with people out here to better our surroundings. So that track right there is easily the most personal track on the record, because it's basically dealing with my idea of, if I'm going to go out here and try to unify people or, like, make things better, like, it starts at home. Like, I have to start with, like, basically making sure my home or whatever, my relationship with my wife and my child is as great as it possibly can be, you know what I mean? So I can be an example for these same people I'm reaching out to. And then just, talking about my influence my family has on that, and how before I'm trying to inspire the world, it's like I got to try to basically lift up the people closest to me. And, and so that's really what that song was trying to capture. So it's definitely a personal record. As far as my favorite, I mean, it changes, man. Like one week it might be this song, and next week it might be that. But I would say the song that was probably the most fun for me to write, oh man, like I would probably say it would have to be Check My Resume.
Nice.
And it's really just because I like coming up with challenges. Like, how can I do a song that keeps with the tradition of hip-hop and it's trash talk, but at the same time be a unique concept, that's something that someone hasn't really heard, and so that way it still has some substance, you know?
Right.
Let's go. Yo. Name substantial, address Nunya. Baltimore resident, but people know I'm from the county where the prince is a G. It's no wonder that even in the dead of winter, the block is live in summer where dudes got.
And that was a fun song to write, man. Like really kind of taking my career or whatever and breaking it down in resume form, but via rhymes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just had a lot of fun with that. And Odyssey, Body the Beat, man, just really did its thing. So, it was a lot of fun to write to and listen to, at least for me.
So actually, I continue with the album. Home is where the art is. It starts with the first track is Spilled Milk.
Come on. Yo, man, it's hard when you see more bills than checks. That's why I push your ex people wheels, no flex. While I write day and night just to deal with stress. Walk these DMV streets like I'm still the best. Even though I got an overdrawn account waiting on canal.
And then the last track it ends with Grateful.
Yeah, yeah. When my last experience has been acquired, I've arrived at the day that will expire. I hope I am surrounded by extraordinary folks that I admire. And hopefully a few that I've inspired. Nothing here is certain, except the show must end and they'll eventually close the curtain. Then will my life be worthy of an encore? Or standing over?
Two tracks you could say with the message that I'm blessed with, pretty much be blessed with what you have. Don't stress over what you have, because by the end of the day, you're fine. Curious, one, was that on purpose? And two, why do that?
I mean, definitely, man. As somebody who works with kids, right, part of what you end up doing, you talk to people, you see what's going on. Oftentimes, when a child or anybody comes to you with a problem, it's like some problems are bigger than others, But in the grand scheme of things, the one thing I've learned to be true throughout my life is that it's never as bad as you really think it is, and even if it is bad, there's always somebody out here whose life is far more challenging and going through far worse things than you are. Right. And so it's really just trying to be an optimist, man, just constantly trying to find some good. And, I was just telling my wife the other day, man, I didn't expect to even be alive at this point, bro. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, man. I really didn't think I was going to be here, but I am. And so now that I am, I'm not going to be walking around Debbie Downer, just negative all the time. I can't do it because, I straight up, on everything, dog, on my mama's mama, I did not think I was going to live to be the age that I am. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm here, you know what I'm saying? And it's from surviving situations where people shooting at me or people in my neighborhood, from, going through a preventative surgery or whatever to prevent cancer, you know what I'm saying? All the stuff that I just had to really capture that with the first song, and then would close out with Grateful to let people know that, I appreciate every blessing I have. And it's just let me reiterate to you. It's I'm not going to cry about all of this stuff, man. I'm going to just keep pressing on and try to shine light, and as much light as I can, to keep inspiring other people to do the same. You know what I mean?
You have, it's prevalent that, and I know you work with kids, and a lot of, your music is you're trying to use your music to inspire, but I want to kind of dig a little deeper. Besides inspiration, a couple of questions, what purpose does music serve for you? And then how much of your music is autobiographical, and how much are you using it to be a voice for other people, or a voice for the voiceless?
I want to say, it's kind of like, I want to say it's 50-50, but the reality of it is, I think with every song I do, it's a little bit of both. Even when I do something fictional, you know, like I put some of my truths in there. So, but ultimately, and then the flip side is, even when I do something that's kind of me speaking for someone else, it's like, you know, or not, for correction, even when I do something for, like, about my life, oftentimes, you know, I'm speaking on it and I'm trying to, you know, basically be as open as possible about that particular thing, because I've learned that as personal as I think these situations are, there are other people who can relate to it. And so, you know, I think the longer I've been doing it and the more I've met people who can relate to some of the strangest things that have happened to me, you know, like when I meet, those situations make me want to write more things kind of opening up about what's happened to me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think, you know, even in those situations, I'm still kind of speaking for other people, even though that wasn't necessarily the intent when I wrote it, you know? So, yeah, man, it's a little bit of both, you know?
I want to continue with your writing process. I know, you know, through friends that you also write spoken word.
Right.
So, and I've seen, I haven't been to a show, but I've definitely seen, you know, online shows that you've, you know, cut the beat and you've done a cappella.
Think I graduated from the Xavier Institute for School of Hard Knocks, where I took my classes, where I got my master of ceremony tactics. My poetics teachers taught me to make only classics. You may know me as this educator and a vocalist, but who the hell you know's a team player and a soloist? Can dress to impress, but I'm fly when I'm playing too thorough. If I quit, you would hire me again. So fire them if they lame. I've come for what's mine. Work around the clock. I can keep up with the time. Since elementary, I flip the dub from a dime. While they get the pink slip, I get the W9.
How is your writing approach, if at all, different when you write for spoken word versus when you know you're gonna have, when you write a rap lyric, like when you know you're gonna have a beat behind you?
Right.
You know, because a lot of times you could always, I think with if you have a beat behind you, you could always kind of have a throwaway lyric here and there because you have a you have a beat. But with spoken word, it's every word counts. So I guess how do you approach those differently, or do you?
Well, what I do is, you know, I don't necessarily separate the two. I think that the greatest rap lyrics, for the most part, are poetry, with or without the music. Like, you know, the greatest rap lyrics we've ever known, you know, are very poetic. You know what I mean? Like, granted, the beat might have been what sold you on it, you know, but when you take that music away, like, you know, you think of some of the greatest songs that Nas has written, and you read them, it's still pretty amazing, you know. I don't know how, like, folks feel about Jay, but even some of Jay-Z stuff, like, when you just read it, like, I read his book, Decoded, and some of the lyrics, it's like, they read really well because it's written very well, you know what I mean?
Right.
And most Def, a long list of people I could think of, where they're just great writers. And so I, at a very young age or whatever, I stopped separating the two and recognized that, you know, man, like, I think I can go ahead and write some, like, powerful pieces and put it to music and still do my best to make every word count, you know? Now, everything might not be as clever or be about oohs and ahs, but I still make sure that I, like, in those moments, you know, it's like, it's not necessarily filler. I just make sure I make a statement that resonates. You know what I mean? So this might not have been the creative thing to say in this particular place, or the flow might not have been the illest thing you've ever heard, but this particular statement needed to be made. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I made it or whatever, and, you know, pray, like, hopefully this resonates with somebody, you know? And so, and it's funny, man, like, the more and more you do it, you start to see some of the things that you know aren't necessarily the most impressive things you've ever written somehow resonate more than the ones that are, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, you know, I think that was really the best approach for me. It was just to treat this writing, you know, like, to treat, like, the rhymes I was writing more like poetry. And that's when I kind of strayed a little away. You know, I still write a battle rhyme here and there, but I kind of strayed away from trying to quote unquote convince the world I was the best rapper ever, and focus more on like, man, how can I just write words and really and messages that really resonate with people. You know what I mean?
Come on. Things ain't what they seem. You don't know who to believe. From the preachers to thieves, you better watch out. They wanna get what you got, wanna be what they not. They don't know when to stop. You better watch out. Urge is on the prize, want a slice of the pie. Got our eyes on the prize. You better watch out. Tell them one more again. You better watch out. Listen.
When did you know you wanted to write? I know your passion for writing has fueled your passion for hip hop. So when did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
Oh man, I probably started writing when I was 10, but it was around the time I was 14 that I really was like, man, I'm gonna really push and see how far this can take me, you know. Yeah, I had to be like, I want to say it was like 14. I think I was 15 when I recorded my first demo. So
I want to go. I heard in an interview you said, and this is a quote: "We all question whether or not we're doing the right thing, but if it feels right to you, if it is just constantly this thing that's just eating away at you, then do it. Don't make any excuses about it. Do it. When you get to that point where you feel like you've reached your goal, you'll be surprised of how many people you've inspired along the way." So I have a few questions. Have you reached your goal? And if so, how do you keep up the passion for what you do? And then when do you know it's time to stop doing what you're doing?
I think I've reached some of my goals. I think sometimes people are under the misconception that you can only have one goal, you know? Yeah. And so we set lots of goals for ourselves, you know what I mean? So I would say that I've definitely accomplished several of my goals. But the thing is, I'm consistently setting new goals for myself, looking for new challenges for myself, new things to accomplish, and, new ventures to take, and just constantly, pushing myself, and trying to be that Renaissance man, if you will, and just chase whatever passions I have, man, just consistently chasing my dreams, and so, a great book for people to read, man. Gordon Parks had a book called To Smile in Autumn. And like Gordon Parks, man, is an he was an amazing man. Like he just accomplished so much, man. He was a journalist, a photographer. He's written like concertos. He scored like music for like movies he's directed. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this dude did half of what I was saying, like, by the time he was in his 40s or something like that.
Wow. But
even on to, like, the latter days of his life or whatever, later in his life, he still was, like, coming up with new challenges for himself, people forget, Gordon Parks directed Shaft. You know what I'm saying? On top of being, like, arguably the greatest, like, African-American photographer, like, ever,
right.
And so I think it's not so much of knowing when it's time to stop something. It's just really one of them things that, like, if this particular thing isn't interesting to you anymore, it's not necessarily means you have to stop doing it, because maybe you need to find something else a little more interesting to you, or there might be something else you enjoy to do, but you haven't really spent a lot of time doing it. So maybe you kind of shift gears for a minute and do that. For example, I have a visual arts background. And up until even though I've been still doing graphic design, I design a lot of my own cover art, but like up until I did Home is Where the Art Is, I hadn't really been inspired to really get heavy back into the art scene or whatever. And I'm not just talking about graphic design, but like fine art, like just drawing, painting, and, photography, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And ever since I put the album out, like it's, like, that record has been a huge inspiration for me to pick the pencil back up or the marker, you know what I mean, working on my graph art again and everything else. Like the Jack and Jill mixtape I just put out, like,
right.
The image of Jill Scott is actually a hand-drawn cover that I did, that I later colored in Photoshop. You know?
Wow, nice. So, I mean, do you envision yourself doing like a graphic artist book, kind of like a Justin Bua or something like that?
I mean, I don't know so much, you know, like, I don't know where I'm going to take it. I definitely want to put together some shows of my work, you know, but like, but right now I kind of feel as though I need to spend way more time just tightening up what I do, you know, and the stuff that, you know, everybody's their own worst critic. So I'm definitely trying to just tighten this stuff up. It's kind of like the same way I approach my music. You know, I might like something I made, but if I'm not completely blown away by it or think that it's, like, great, I'm probably not going to put that song out. And so my visual art's the same way. I mean, I've probably done, like, thousands of drawings and paintings and all types of other stuff in printmaking and prints over the years, but, you know, there's a reason why you don't see all of it, you know what I mean? You know, so you know, I'm thinking about actually putting together a year anniversary show for Home is Where the Art Is, but it strictly be like artwork that I've created over that period of time, you know, take the best pieces and put them in a show or something. So we'll see, you know.
As you mentioned, and, you know, as I read, you obviously you're an educator, you work a lot with kids.
Right.
So I want to kind of give you a what if. Let's say, obviously, making millions in this business, in this art form, doesn't necessarily mean you're a good artist. You know, it's whatever.
Right.
It's like, which is a sad statement. But that said, let's say you did make millions in this art. Would you stop your work with kids?
No, sir. No, sir. If I was making millions off of art, off of my art or my music or whatever, I literally, the program that I've been brainstorming on for years, like, it would be in existence, you know, I'd have it operating in some of the communities I live in, and then I'd probably be putting a portion of what I'm making toward several programs that I know for a fact do great work with kids that I've worked with. I definitely will be putting more, you know, like, basically for the time I couldn't be there, they'd be receiving the resources they need because I couldn't physically be there as much for whatever reason. So, you know, like, I'm very clear on the what if. Like, if things changed overnight and I had the resources to do what I needed to do, the plans are already set for all of those things. Because literally, you know, some of those things, all it takes right now is you know, I got the people and the drive to do it. It's just the resources are missing. So, yeah, so, I mean, I definitely, that would not stop, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
Substantial. 2 albums out, Home is Where the Art Is, and Jack and Jill. Everyone get those. Thanks so much for joining me, man, on The Library with Tim Einenkel, which is on And You Don't Stop with Chuck D.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
Monday, fresh for my hour commute, cause at least 5 days a week I'm with the youth, teaching them how to chase dreams while they stay clean and try to avoid parenthood while they teen. Tuesday, find me on UAU Street with the guards and mama sauce and the beats. Wednesday, I'm wrapping up rhymes, it's so sick, spend a couple hours tweaking my show this. Thursday, I'm at the crib trying to recline with the wife and spend a little quality time. Gotta let go of any stress clouding my mind. When they try to hold me back, man, the harder I climb. Friday, ready to go, locked and loaded, about to let it flow. Then bless the show, no time to chill. Gotta work tonight, be a slew trying to move all this merchandise. Saturday, hear my voice with some honey and hot tea. Pay a couple bills with the money it got me. Head to the park with my lady and baby. Relax cause the rap game be making me crazy. Sunday, grab my pad, hit the labs what I do. Lay down vocals with YU. Today, now you and yours are tuned in. Got another one all aboard the movement. I'll keep the movement moving. The groove is grooving. When we do what we doing, get down. Stand back, let me see them hands clap. Alright, we be rocking it all night. We keep the movement moving. The groove is grooving. When we do what we doing, get down. Stand back, let me see them hands clap. Alright, we be rocking it all night.
Now 1, 2 is when I'm checking the mic. And I can take it off the top and flex something I write. Just to warm it up, make sure my vocals is heard. Check the monitors, that's the stuff that I had to learn. If the beat is kinda cranking and your words start sinking into why to get the gist of what a brother spit so. Taking in the info, given by my kinfolk, just so that we grow, cause we tryna let them know. So gonna be rocking, I'ma kick that raw non-stop, kinda hip-hop, push it up a couple notches. Switch up the stuff if we getting too monotonous. Why you was substantial, yeah, we got this. In control, fast or slow, and you know that. I'ma do my thing, so can you hold that? Free fall, I be on, yup, that is the format. Far from predictable style, some of y'all that